One of the big trades that people are talking about, the long trade that's around at the moment, is that on precious metals, gold in particular. Let's take a look in some more detail now with a regular update we get from Serge Berger from thesteadytrader.com, who joins us now online from Zurich. Serge, good to catch up with you again. Hope you're keeping well. Clearly looking as though things are looking good for gold at the moment. I know you've got a few charts to show us. What's your general theme around the precious metals space?
Sure. Good to be on, Jeremy. Thank you. I think at the end of the day, when you look at the current bigger picture environment, you have essentially bond yields that are very low, both on the corporate side as well as on the rate side. You have equities are probably quite limited to the upside, and of course you have a lot of what's called money printing or monetary debasing on the part of central banks, and so that leaves you in an environment where you need to look something that's going to kind of preserve your spending power, if you will, even though there may not be a yield. And we've seen really a very strong bull market, and one with a lot less volatility than you might see in equities in gold. And we can look at gold in multiple time frames. I think it's important to look at things in different time frames. So if I look at the longer term monthly chart, what I see is an asset that has essentially broken out of its inverse head and shoulders pattern in a big way back in 2019. We are now certainly heading higher here, and I think we could easily go plenty higher. If I'm going to flip to the liquid contract here, currently around the 1800 area, I would not be surprised if we see 1900, maybe 2000 in the not too distant future, as there really is kind of almost a panic trade in terms of moving into this asset at the moment.
Yeah, look, let's look in some more detail at a closer part of that chart and work out where our stops would be and your sort of interim targets to aim for. We're just around about the 1800 level. Clearly, round figures are very much an attractive point of contact and target for technical analysts. But when it passes 1800, what are the next lines of resistance to watch out for?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is where it depends on what the time frame is you're looking at, and we're going to focus in on a more near-term time frame. We just recently started breaking out of this little consolidation period, which the top end of it was around, let's call it 1750 to 1770. And now we're just kind of starting to make the next move. Now, how long the next move lasts is anybody's guess. I would suspect we can get a little bit higher. Maybe we go to 1850 or so before we pause again. But that's here on the weekly chart. Now, if you zoom in even closer and going onto the daily chart, you can kind of see this even better, which is technically actually kind of exactly what you want to see. We've been basing for a bunch of weeks, then we broke out, based above the what used to be resistance, now support, and now you're pushing higher. So I would say about 1850 is kind of what we're looking for. In terms of stops, at this point, if you break below, let's call it 1770, again, roughly the upper end of that trading range, from a trading perspective, this will probably be a pretty good stop to get out on.
Yeah. What about silver? Is it behaving in the same way?
Silver is really interesting. And what we see in silver, typically when you go back in time, it's situations that look similar to what we have right now. Silver ultimately tends to lag a little bit, but then it catches up really well. And so to give you some perspective on this is the long-term monthly chart on silver. And you can see we had a breakdown fake out move in March, and we've seen since rebound very sharply. If you move on to the weekly chart, you're starting to see how this is coiling up rather nicely. And we had a little bit of a, if you want to call it, a bull flag pattern. There's a lot of different patterns you can associate to this, and we really are trying to break above both horizontal or lateral resistance as well as diagonal resistance here and kind of coiling up. Finally, on the daily chart, you can see this even better, very much like gold. We've been breaking above support, resistance. Now then we're based above that resistance point, and now we look like we could be heading higher. Last real quick point I wanted to make is just quickly show you what it looks like if you were to overlay gold versus the price of the silver contract, so you can kind of see what this looks like. And I'm gonna zoom out a bit more, and you can see in the bigger picture, we have the price of silver really showing us a similar pattern, but one that, if it does play catch up, and historically speaking, it has done that, there's a lot of room to go.
Interesting comparison. That's always compared, isn't it? These two. I think we've got a silver to gold ratio just under 100 at the moment. I think a longer term or sort of midterm average is about 60. So as you say, perhaps maybe the pickup is going to be in silver potentially. Just talk us through a couple of opportunities within the sector for some of those shares you're watching in the precious space.
Sure. So we tend to track an ETF that tracks the gold miners, and the ticker symbol is GDX for that one. Which quite frankly, if you want to look for something that has a bit higher of a beta, then that's one that would look rather nice. You can see here the longer term chart, textbook, very much like we just talked about here, Jeremy, where you broke out a resistance and we went back, tested as support, and now we're going higher. Within that, one of the largest, if not the largest holding, is Newmont Mining. To give you an idea on this one on the long term, you're looking at one that's essentially done nothing really since the 80s, but does now look like it has upside back to the very upper end of this trading range, which is somewhere in the low to potentially mid 70s on Newmont Mining. It's got this, if you want to talk technicals, this bull flag pattern forming here. So you could easily see this get back to the highs that we saw just a few weeks ago, somewhere in at least the high 60s, maybe low 70s. Lastly, when it comes to silver.
Oh, sorry. Please carry on. Please carry on.
Sure. Just quickly on silver, since we talk about individual stocks there, I'm a little bit more, much more cautious on individual names. I'm looking more at what's an ETF that's it's called the SILJ is the ETF, and what it is it represents silver junior miners. Sounds like a platonic thing to do, but again, if you look at what the potential in silver is, these silver miners do look attractive, and I would not be surprised if this has a 14-15 handle in the not too distant future. Again, it's silver, it's volatile, it's arguably somewhat manipulated, so keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay, look, wise words. Thanks indeed for joining us, Serge, for your quick trip around some of the precious metal spaces and the interesting commentary, especially around silver, bearing in mind it's lagged recently. Interesting to see whether or not there's more of a pickup in the price of silver over gold, but we're certainly seeing the precious metal space attract a lot of long traders on the picture at the moment. That's Serge Berger from thesteadytrader.com. For more videos from us here at IGTV, join us on Twitter at IGTV and subscribe to our YouTube channel.